The truly glorious part of the gift was that it didn't happen just that once. It happened every single morning. Young Rooster would wake in the night for no reason, strut out into the brisk air, hop up onto the roof of the coop, and give out a mighty cut, 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 cadoodle-too, and the day would begin. He was amazing. Now, it wasn't that the hens got used to it or anything, but after a week or so, they didn't follow him out into the darkness to watch any more. They'd sit in their feathers and straw, with their eyes open the slightest bit, and they'd listen to his strong feet skip across the roof of the chicken coop. Cut, 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 cut-oo! They'd hear him cry, and ever so slowly they'd watch as the inside of the chicken coop would begin to glow and grow bright. They were proud of their young rooster, but they didn't need to watch any more, except for one of them, that is, the smallest. She would wake as soon as he did and follow him out of the coop into the darkness. She would stand there on the grass and watch as he'd bound up onto the roof, stretch himself high and high against the stars, and cry his call across the valley. Then the smallest hen would face the east and smile as the colors appeared, and the sky would answer. Even on rainy mornings she would stand there, the drops glistening on her soft feathers, and watch as the darkness would turn to mist and the pale, tender day would begin. Smallest hen would wait until the sun was well up in the sky, and then she'd say to young Rooster, "Thank you, Rooster." In the beginning, he'd grin and hop down from his perch to be by her, and they'd talk about his gift. But eventually, after smiling slightly, he would be on his way. Soon he would only nod, then barely nod, and finally he didn't even hear her. Rooster was growing very proud of this gift. Very, very proud. Day after day, young Rooster began the day. And days turned into seasons and seasons into years. The hens laid eggs, and what the old farmer's wife didn't take away in her basket became tiny chicks. Rooster had stopped sleeping in the crowded coop long ago, but still Smallest Hen continued to wake up in time to watch him make the day. One night, Smallest Hen woke up and ruffled her feathers. Her sisters and their chicks snored all around her. She tiptoed over the straw and feathers out the door to the grass. For the first morning that Smallest Hen could remember. Rooster was nowhere in sight, so Smallest Hen snuggled down onto the grass and waited. No Rooster. No Rooster. Still no Rooster. Smallest Hen looked over the hills. It was dark. She couldn't see a thing. Where was Rooster? She squinted into the woods. No Rooster. She stood and began walking in chicken circles. What if something had happened to him? Who would start the day? She peered off into the woods again. They were dark against a lightning sky. He wasn't coming from the woods. She looked again over the hills that were growing brighter. He wasn't coming over the hills. She looked into the sky as two swallows crisscrossed above her. She looked east at the sun that was coming up in the valley. "Well, I'll be plucked," she whispered. "The sun came up anyway." Rooster came panting up behind her. His feathers were wild. His wings were flapping. His tail was awry. "What's going on?" he shouted. "How could you go on without me?" Smallest Hen shrugged. "It just happened," she said. "I was standing here waiting for you. I didn't do a thing, and before I knew it, the hills lightened, the valley grew bright, and the sun came up." "Without me," he whispered. "Without me." Smallest Hen nodded. "Without you," she agreed. Rooster turned and walked away from her toward the valley. She called after him, "But it's much better with you." But Rooster didn't hear her. He was looking at the sun that no longer looked like his. The next day, Smallest Hen awoke as usual and went outside. Rooster was there in the darkness, standing on the roof of the coop. He didn't make a sound. He was very still, and she watched him. Gradually the sky lightened, the valley came to life, and the sun lifted in the east. "I don't believe it," Rooster muttered, and he went away. Each day it was the same thing. Rooster on the roof, Smallest Hen in the grass, the sun in the east. "So what's my gift?" Rooster finally shouted one morning. "If it's not to bring up the sun, what is it?" "Maybe the gift is that you know when the sun is about to come up," she suggested. Rooster stared at her. "That makes no sense whatsoever." "What good is that? Even you know when the sun is about to come up." Smallest Hen fluffed and blushed, for she knew this was true. "But it's you who called to the sun," she told him. "Ridiculous," he said. "Anyone else could do it, even you." The next morning he tried to show her. In the darkness he pushed her up onto the roof. He eased her along the edge out to the peak. "Hold on here," he said, showing her how to wrap her toes around the edge. "Now stretch up." She grew round and fat. "Stretch up," he shouted. "I am." "No, you're not. You're getting round and fat." "It's the best I can do," she said. Rooster shook his head. "All right now, wait a while, and when it feels right, yell, 'Cut, cut, 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 cut-toodle-too!'"